this is a story that I want to sort of segue over to because it really deserves your attention and this is on your radar. So the US retirement system has just been given a C+ rating, and I wanted to talk to you about why this was the case. So the US retirement system, now this includes if you're in your 401k, you're invested in a Roth IRA or an IRA or whatnot, this makes up about $39 trillion that is saved for retirement purposes here in the United States. As you know, we are one of the wealthiest nations in the world. So how are we doing on the retirement system front? How are Americans doing in their retirement planning? And what will they have in their future? Well, let's just say that we may, as a country, be average at best. Countries such as Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Denmark, Australia, and a few others are doing much better for their constituents here are in the United States. So what does it mean and what does it take for a country to score well? Well, let's look at Iceland. Okay, Iceland scored pretty much #1 on both of these reports. Well, their population has some of the best retirement benefits, and here's what makes it special. Not only do they have great retirement benefit options, but their retirement benefits are sustainable, meaning that they can be continued on and they don't have to be tweaked every other year. Less of their retirees are in poverty levels, which is really key. And there's more retirement income equality. But Norway, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Denmark, Australia, Ireland, and New Zealand all scored very, very well. So let's compare that to how we're doing here in the United States. Well, as of 2021, Americans had over $39 trillion saved for retirement. This is according to the Investment Company Institute. However, that doesn't mean that most Americans will be okay for retirement. In fact, the data is actually pretty worrying. Poverty rates are very high for Americans 75 years and older. In fact, about 28% here in the United States versus 11% on average in the rest of the world. So there's something in the United States that they refer to as the three-legged stool. Now, what is the three-legged stool and how is this important to retirement planning? Well, the three-legged stool talks about this US retirement system. And what it is in order to provide for yourself for retirement, you're relying on 3 pillars. The number 1 being Social Security, number 2 is your individual savings, and number 3 is workplace plans such as your 401k plan or 403b, or possibly if you have a pension at work. So what's really concerning obstacles here in the United States as US is really sort of wobbling in the area of workplace plans. We have a big access issue. In fact, the article talks about John Stablehouse, who is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution and adjunct research professor at the University of Michigan, estimated that only 53% of Americans or the US workers actually had even access to a 401k type of plan in 2018. And according to Center for Retirement Initiatives, about 57 million Americans were included in the retirement savings coverage gap in 2020, meaning they didn't have access to a workplace retirement plan. So you might be asking, why is this? Like, do they have a plan at work and they just don't fund it? Well, the federal government doesn't require that individuals have to save at all, right? Businesses have to even offer a 401k, and forget about pension. They don't have to have a pension either. But business has largely transitioned away from pension plans as it is. What about those higher ranked countries? Like, how do they do it? Well, to give you an idea, by contrast, 19 of the developed nations actually require companies of all sizes to offer some level of coverage. They also make sure that businesses have to offer a retirement plan, and also they require individuals, employees, to also have a personal account, and in most cases having a combination of the two. So they're saying it's not just complete freedom of choice of whether you're going to want to retire or if you're going to want to save, or if you're a company, if you want to actually set up a retirement plan. In many countries, they require it. You have to save, you have to have a personal account, and companies, yeah, you got to offer a retirement plan. And so why is this so important? Because in 12 other countries, arrangements such as this enable that 75% of working age individuals actually have retirement plans. In Denmark, Finland, and the Netherlands, for example, 90% or more of people have a retirement plan. This is huge because this really sets you ahead for when you get older and you want to have retirement savings, right? So then you might say, well, Winnie, I know about like the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. You can do those, right? If you don't have a 401k or you don't have a SEP IRA, you could still do that. And that is true. So only 13% of households actually contribute to a traditional or Roth IRA in 2020. This is according to the Investment Company Institute. And in fact, in 2021, IRAs held about $14 trillion, right? Which is almost double of what's in 401k plans, which is about $7.7 trillion. So you might say, how does that make any sense? If less people contribute to an IRA and more people contribute to a 401k or 403b, a work plan, why is it the IRAs have almost double the amount that a 401k work plan would have? Makes sense, right? Well, something that you may not know, but I do know as a financial professional, this is what I do for a living. Most IRAs aren't contributed to directly. You know how each year you might be able to contribute $6,000 to an IRA or Roth IRA, maybe $7,000 if you're over the age of 50. So how are you going to get to a larger sum, right? Well, oftentimes you can also contribute into these accounts from a 401k at work. When you leave the company, when you retire the company, if you choose to do an IRA rollover, you can move your 401k or 403b or SEP IRA plan amounts into an IRA. And that's why IRAs actually hold more money than most 401ks, because it just goes to show you that most people, when they leave a company, take their money with them as well. Now in 2019, $554 billion was rolled into IRAs. So this is more than 7 times the $76 billion that's contributed to directly into an IRA. So it just goes to show you so much more money comes into these IRAs from existing contributions, which just goes to show you why saving in 401ks is certainly better than saving into IRAs, but even better is doing both. And why is that? Is because 401ks have one advantage that IRAs don't, and that is typically easier accessibility. If you have it through work, it's easy to sign up for. You can make contributions, before they go into your paycheck or after they go into your paycheck, however you have it set up. Americans are 15 times more likely to put money into their retirement accounts if they can do so through work, because it's so much easier when it's a payroll deduction. Now, this is according to AARP. This study did show. What's interesting too is that many employees that work on small businesses, we know many small businesses here in the United States don't have a 401k option as well. So if you're working at a smaller company, you're not able to contribute, definitely make sure to try to fund your IRA or your Roth IRA every year if you can. Now, according to a recent Social Security report from 2017, this is what's also really eye-opening. Who contributes into a 401k? Well, 94% of the wealthiest of Americans, that top quintile, 68% of sort of that middle income earners contribute to a 401k, and then just 9% of the bottom quintile of every workforce actually contribute to a 401k. So you could say that definitely the benefit of a 401k is going towards a highly compensated, or at least a middle class, upper middle class employee. And it makes sense, right? Because sometimes if you're making less, you might not feel like you have enough to be able to sock away for your future. So the question then lies is it the lack of savings that really hurts us, right? And the answer is actually not necessarily, because savings is certainly harder when you're earning less. But there's still a lot of other factors, including inflation, increasing healthcare costs, and the fact that people, all of us, are living longer, which means we have a greater risk of outliving our money. What does that really mean? That means you could be in your 80s and your 90s, and you could still be going strong physically, but you don't have enough money to even take care of yourself because you've used it all, and Social Security might not cover everything. And speaking of Social Security was never designed to provide for you for the majority of your retirement planning needs. But according to the Social Security Administration, about a quarter of seniors, 25% of seniors, actually rely on public benefits for about 90% of their income. And what this equates to, as of August of 2022, the average Social Security monthly benefit is about $1,600. And this is just a little bit above poverty levels. So that just goes to show you that those who don't save and haven't had the ability to save, living on primary Social Security, they're really going to have a very difficult time in retirement. So that's why here in the United States, unfortunately, we got a solid C+ on our retirement plan, and several other countries, smaller countries, definitely should be an example to hopefully our government as we go into election period time of just the improvements that we need to make, of really paying attention to retirement levels, of course, personal savings responsibilities, companies making sure that they have these retirement plans available for their employees and make it easier for our employees that we care about to save for their future needs, and of course, making sure to keep on top of their Social Security figures and doing those calculations to see that you have enough when you finally do retire. And if you do plan to retire later or earlier, knowing where you're going to stand before you stop working. That's key when you stop receiving that last paycheck.